Welcome once again to our quarterly release webinar here at Sensiba. We're going to be going over the R2 release of 2024 for Sage Intacct. We can go to the next slide. If you haven't joined us before, you probably know us anyway. I'm Tom Aker. I am the practice director for Sage Intacct here at Sensiba. I've been working with Sage Intacct since, well, it's been over 12 years, I think now. So I've been through a few quarterly releases and always looking forward to seeing what new features and functionality they're delivering for us. And with me here is Michael.
Tom, that seems like almost since inception. Yeah, and I am Michael Sudbury, Senior Systems Implementation Specialist with Sensiba. I have done many implementations and then also use Sage as an end user. So I have experience on both sides, and I always look forward to the new features that Sage rolls out quarterly. And let's go ahead and dive into some of those. So we like to always say that this isn't just the only releases for the release. These are a few handpicked ones that we think our clients might find interesting, but we'll review how to see the full list at the end of this presentation. Some of the exciting new features are Sage Intelligent Time enhancements. Tom's going to tell you some pretty cool things about that. AP automation, if you're using the AP automation tool for bill ingesting, it can now do multi-line coding. So we'll dig into that as well. Draft payments and accounts receivable, which is a new feature. Enhanced project reporting, that's going to make your life a lot easier if you need to run a lot of projects. The beta list feature, which has been a feature over many of these releases, is now going to be available in a lot more areas. So we'll see that. The ability to distribute employee expenses based on allocations, and then a new Sage Fixed Assets Management product.
Okay, so we'll start off with Sage Intelligent Time. Now, if you're not familiar with it, Sage Intelligent Time, excuse me, it has been a product that's available with a separate login and separate user list for those customers who use projects and timesheets and grants also. But now they've moved it in as a native functionality in the products and grants module. So you'll be able to go into, if you have admin rights and all the right permissions, you'll be able to go into your project configuration and enable Intelligent Time right there. And just by doing that, it installs the triggers in your platform services. It creates a user role for the Sage Intelligent Time integration, and it creates a web services user, and it adds the necessary sender ID to the allow list. So if you don't know what all that stuff means, basically it enables it all. And even though it is its own application, it is now fully integrated into your timesheets. Michael, if you go to the next slide and get a little preview of what that'll look like. So once the Intelligent Time is enabled, timesheets look very different. And that will allow users to opt into letting the Intelligent Time read their calendar and their work email and desktop applications even to suggest what their time was spent on during the day and pre-fill a draft timesheet. So a lot more accurate than most of the ways that we professionals keep track of time now. And it has a mobile app for on the go, which a lot of us are. So super cool that it is now native in the products module. It is not a separate purchase. If you have projects and timesheets, then you've already got it.
Who likes to input timesheets?
Oh, I love figuring out how I spent my time and trying to put it into a timesheet.
No one. I would like to meet the person who does enjoy that. But, this is something that, you could be missing out on billable time. Like, oh, I forgot about this. Well, the system can tell you, what were you doing? And, Tom, I think sometimes people hear AI and they get a little leery, But
yeah.
This is really just a tool that you can use that will help you fill out your timesheets. It's not like trying to keep tabs on you or anything.
Right.
And then also, it's no added cost. If you're already using project billing, this is available to you. So just another very neat tool that Sage is rolling out and making it more of a one-stop shop, so you don't have to punch out for it or anything. It is embedded within the product. So excited to see that.
Yeah.
Also on the automation front, we have continued expansion of the AP automation. If you've been keeping tabs on it, Sage introduced a tool that will ingest bills and pre-fill that bill for you and learn over time where bills might be coded. Now we're seeing a lot of more expansion within that. You can now have it a multi-line bill. So if you have multiple lines with different expenses, it will try to learn that as well, and it will try to learn the expenses by line. Also, it now is going to extend that out to dimensions as well. So it can learn location and department and try to pre-fill for you that. Now, this is in an early adopter stage still, at least that multi-line and the dimensional tagging, but I do expect us to see that pretty soon, and it is a section of the system that they are working on a lot. So I definitely am excited to see that continue to expand.
Yeah, and if you're not in an early adopter program for something like this and you would like to be, reach out to us, because in some cases like this one, I think it's pretty easy to get into that program. Another function that we're expecting from it in a later release, maybe this year, is the ability to match with purchase orders. So.
Yeah, I guess that wasn't mentioned on this release, but that was on the last one. The expansion of if you have purchase orders, it can also do that as well. So very exciting. Now this is the automation does have a small cost, so there is a consideration there if you want to turn it on. But yeah, other than that, the early adopters, you may have to also be on a meeting. Isn't it a weekly meeting?
I think so.
Mostly?
Yeah, it's like basically your beta testing. So you need to provide feedback on the product.
So that is a requirement if you want to sign up for early adopters. I just want to throw that out there.
Yeah. All right. Now, I think this is both mundane and exciting, but if you've ever tried to undo a payment posted to accounts receivable invoices, well, that's always a challenge, because as soon as something gets into the cash realm in Sage Intacct, of course, it's a lot more locked down because the controls around cash are important. But now we're able to create draft payments against accounts receivable invoices, which means if you're not sure how that payment should be applied to invoices in that customer's list, you can save it as a draft. You can use your collaborate tool to ask other people about it, other users in the system. And Michael, if you go to click again, there should be another overlay on this. All right, so once you have saved those payments as draft, you can select one or all of them and post in a batch. So super handy that way. You can get those cash receipts processed quickly without committing to a cash application that you're not sure about. So I think this will save a lot of headaches for folks on the AR collection side.
I'm excited anytime you can save a lot of time.
Yeah.
And while you said this does sound mundane, this can save a lot of time.
Yeah.
Posting things incorrectly, or even posting a batch of draft payments, like that can save a lot of time. So
yeah,
excited to see that. Also on the saving a lot of time front, we have enhanced project reporting, also something that may seem a little simple, but if this is important to you, and we do have a lot of clients that use either projects or grants module, this is something that can save you a lot of time. So previously, you could only run departments or locations as an individual report. Now, what that means is if I have a group, or if I have every single one of them and I don't select the filter, what the system will do is run an individual report for each location or each department. Now, this is expanded to projects. So say if I have a project group, or if I want to run a P&L for every single one of my projects, I can select that button and it's going to run individual reports for me automatically without me having to go in and click and select every single report and do like 30 of them or 100 of them or who knows how many of them. So
yeah,
I think that seems rather simple, but it can save a lot of time.
I think they said on the intro call that the top end for this is 500. So if you have more than 500 projects, you have to split them into two groups.
No,
I hope you don't have that problem.
true. All right.
Uh, Beta lists. So the new list functionality has been in beta for a long time now, but what they did was they started with just vendors and they've been adding to the list of lists that you can turn that beta view on. And now they're up to over 50. And some of the highlighted ones here, obviously, I tried putting the whole list in here and it was tiny little print. So you can read this list and see if there's any that um, grab you. But thought I would show you if I could show for a second here what that looks like. So I'm just going to jump into our preview company here. All right. So I'm going to go to one of the new list that's available is accounts receivable invoices. They haven't got to AP invoices yet, I don't think. But if I go into my accounts receivable invoice list, you can see I've now got this hyperlink here at the top that says turn on lists beta interface. And when I click on that, my list changes, my view changes quite a lot. So some cool things about this, you can move fields around. You can um, shrink or expand fields. You can apply filters to each of these columns here. So if I wanted to see, let's say I just want to see the selected transactions, then I can filter like that. And then you can save your filters. You'll have them all available here. You can save them. You'll notice that we don't have in the uh, top bar right here, you don't see the show private as you have in a traditional or in the previous list, but that's available here to show the entity data in the list here. So then I can view that and I can see all of my, oh, it's because I selected it here. Let me turn the filter off. So I can see all of my different entity bills here. Let me go back to turn that off again so I can see that one. Another feature here is that you can view side by side. So if I wanted to look at the list in my left panel and look at the invoices in the right panel, I can do that very easily too. So that's just a little bit of what is going on there with the beta lists. Again, you can turn it on, you can try it out. I invite you to mess around with that. And if you don't like it or you want to go back to your traditional view, you just click turn off beta and you go right back to the view you had before. So it's a lot of fun. And I think as it keeps expanding, we're going to find some great uses for that and really, again, save time, streamline the workflow.
Yeah, and a lot of times, depending on the application, if you're like in vendors or something, you can almost do like a report through a list. Like it can have a lot of information within that list for you that may be meaningful to your operation.
Oh,
So
yeah. I forgot to
very,
show that part. You can select more fields from the sidebar without going into um, a into a deep checkbox situation.
yeah, very excited to see that continue to roll out. And if you're used to the old way of doing it, it's still available too. So.
Yep.
So now we also have a new feature for the ability to distribute employee expenses. Typically, employee expenses are just entered. And now, if you're familiar at all with transaction allocations, this is where you can define an allocation on the row entry of one of your journal entries. It's very similar to that. I can spread out the employee's expense amongst different dimensions. So if I need to know that, this one expense goes to 2 locations and that's going to happen every time, I can do that. If I need to spread that amongst different departments, I can. Even projects, I believe you can. So it's just you define the split of the allocation and it will figure it out for you. Now, the only thing is it does have to be percentage based, which is typically how it would be done. But if it was like a fixed number allocation, it's not going to pick up here. So that's the only sort of caution I would give with this. But it is a neat feature. If you're using project billing and you have employee expenses that need to be allocated, now you can do that at the time of entering that employee expense.
Yeah, that's another thing. It'll save some steps. Um, we included usually in this webinar when we do these quarterly releases, we focus on new functionality that is within the core applications. But I wanted to talk about the Sage Fixed Assets Management because customers ask about it. There has been a Sage Intacct fixed asset or not management, but a fixed assets package from the systems integration group. So it's because it's from them, it's called SIG, the SIG fixed assets. If you've used that one, it is not super user friendly in terms of the look. It wasn't built in the traditional Sage user interface. We also work with some third-party fixed asset management, and then there's the old on-premise Sage fixed assets, which you could integrate with Intacct. But this, after all that, why do we need this? Well, this is an integrated fixed asset manager in the Sage Intacct platform that has a lot of the functionality that customers are looking for inside their Sage Intacct application. Now it's integrated with the purchasing module. It is available in the market. Talk to me or whoever your Sage Intacct rep is, and we can talk to you about pricing. It handles, as you can see, a number of different depreciation methods. It only goes up to 5,000 assets, so it's not for organizations with a huge population of assets. And it's not available if you are already implemented with SIG fixed assets or Asset Edge, which is one of the third-party provider that we often work with. But if you are brand new to the the fixed assets market within your Intacct product, then this is available to you. And I'd be happy to talk to you about any other limitations or functionality that recommends it to your particular usage.
Yeah, so I also think that's exciting. It is a little confusing, I'll be honest. All the fixed assets, there's many options, and a lot of them have a very similar name. But I'll be very excited to see that because it has a more native feel. It seems like it's more integrated. So I'll be curious to see that. So just once again, this is not a full list, but here are some things we covered today: the Sage Intelligent Time, the AP automation with that multi-line coding, just really expanding the AP bill automation, which I think is important. Draft payments and accounts receivable and all the time that can save you. Enhanced project reporting with the availability of running those as individual reports. The beta list, basically going everywhere now. Almost everywhere in the system, you're going to get a beta list. The ability to distribute those employee expenses through allocations at the time of entry, and then also the Sage Fixed Asset Management.
And we're calling that SFAM for short because it's the closest thing to branding we could come up with.
You're in the Sage fam, SFAM. Okay, I'll stop. That's really nerdy of me. Tom, do you want to hit some of the other highlights?
Some other highlights that we didn't go over in detail today. Blanket PO price conversion, that basically means that if you have purchasing, you can add an item that is based on price rather than quantity. And then, so let's say you have a PO for professional services you're going to draw down over time. Instead of trying to come up with a quantity for that, you just draw down dollars on that as you're converting to invoices. There's a new enhanced bank transaction assistant for importing bank transactions. If you don't have the Sage Banking Cloud, if your bank doesn't offer that, or if there's other reasons why you can't connect to that, a really powerful new assistant for getting bank transactions brought into your Intacct cash management easily. Along a similar line, if you're using bank matching sequence on your matching rules, then now there is a report that shows how the sequence is working when you're doing those automated bank recs. And if you're not doing automated bank recs, talk to
Talk to us.
us. The REST API, which if you're a developer, this has been something we've been looking forward to, a more efficient API development approach or protocol. That's in beta now. If you are doing any kind of API development, I invite you to check into that beta program. You can go to developer.intact.com and look into that. As far as add-ons go, again, we usually cover what's already in your Sage Intacct subscriptions, but there are some add-ons that I just wanted to briefly touch on. There's the PwC Control Insights, which is dashboards that help you visualize the controls that are in place in your Sage Intacct system. Very important if you are, working toward IPO or any other kind of uh, level of your business where you need more visibility of your internal controls. Sage Intacct fundraising, this is very new. It's powered by Donor Perfect. It's in the early adopter status. I don't have a lot on it right now, but I saw a couple of previews of it that look pretty cool. So if you are a nonprofit and do not have a fundraising solution for your development department, might be worth looking at this. And then supplies inventory, which is really for organizations that are doing more services and other kinds of business, but do have an inventory of just supplies that they need to keep track of. This integrates into the purchasing module, and I'm working on getting some more information about this. A lot of these things, we just hear about them a little bit before you do. So in this case, I think that the supplies inventory is a separate SKU, but we're finding out about that.
All right. Well, these are quarterly releases, and we do have a schedule for these, so you'll know when to see us next. The next release is scheduled for August 9th, 2024, and we'll likely have another webinar a little bit before that. If you're not familiar with where to find the release notes, we do have hyperlinks in this PowerPoint file, so I can click on this and go into the release notes. Also, the ability to access Sage Community, but I will also just show you really quick. See here. You'll also be able to find this on your home screen. So I am just in a demo here, and I'll zoom in a little bit. If you're ever on this home screen, you will see that we have the coming release notes. This will get updated a little bit before a release. And you can come in here and you can read the full release notes. Now they do have it separated out by section. So if you're curious about just financials, you can click down here and you can see just the sections that are getting updated. And then also if you're curious about old releases, they're all in this toolbar to the left here. You can go and see all the data behind previous releases as well. Now some of these you can click in, there may be a video or maybe a description behind it. But a lot of information out there just right at the tip of your fingers. And then also just know that these resources down here can also be very helpful. Like if I need to get into the Sage community, I can jump right from here, or even the Intacct help. So the home screen is a great place to look, especially as new releases are coming out, and just be on the lookout because things can change. Now, the only other thing I want to mention is if you do have a great idea and you say, hey, I've been really wishing that this would happen in Sage. In the community, there is a section for ideas, and we recommend that you do use those because that's how a lot of these releases do come to fruition, is they start with, a pain point. And as enough people go and upvote that, that's how we get these fun new releases. So definitely
like draft payments in AR. That was definitely it said right on it that was from user ideas.
Yeah, definitely recommend the user ideas. And if you go out and search for an idea and it's already out there, make sure to upvote it, because the more upvotes it gets, that's how they prioritize stuff. So yeah. Thank you for joining us today. We are excited to walk you through some of the newest releases. And if you ever need to get in touch with Tom or I, here is our information. And for a lot of you, I'm sure you already have it.
Yeah. All right. Thanks, everybody. Have a great day.